And welcome to another edition of the Sports Beat with Richard Holdridge, presented by Georgia Alabama Sports Live. This is the Friday edition of the show. So this is going to be exclusively on the Sports Beat with Richard Holdridge Facebook page and YouTube channel. And as always, you can catch a rebroadcast of the show on WQEE 99.1 FM out of Noonan. So on this show, I'm going to go about 30 minutes. I'm going to talk about the games that we were at last night. I'm going to preview college football coming up, which 5 teams are on upset alert this week. I'm going to make my NFL picks, and I'm just going to run down what we got going on in high school football around the Chattahoochee Valley. I just got finished with Muskogee County Flag Football Media Day. That's why I'm coming to you live right now because that was such a great success. I just want to thank the athletic director of Muskogee County, Coach Jeff Battles, for putting on such a great event. The first Flag Football Media Day. WRBL's Jack Patterson was there. We were asking questions. All 8 Muskogee County teams were featured, the head coaches and several players, as Georgia Alabama Sports Live plans to be there to live stream several of the flag football games, especially when they have the tri-matches where other media, other Muskogee County teams are featured in those tri-matches. So it was a lot of fun. Where we were yesterday, Thrift Behringer and I were at Otis Spencer Stadium for really the game of the week. It was hyped up to be that way. The entire state of Georgia looked at Carver, Sumter County, 2 top 10 teams in 2A. Carver ranked 3rd, according to many polls in the state of Georgia. Sumter County ranked 7th. And we are going to go ahead and start with that game, as I'm going to throw up that graphic here. Let me go ahead and get that for you, because I don't want to give away the score without throwing up the graphic. Carver ends up defeating Sumter County 31-0. Yes, that's right. Carver completely dominated this game. The defense, another shutout, their 4th shutout this season, and they caused Sumter County to commit 5 turnovers. At first, it was a back-and-forth defensive struggle, and then Matthew Mungden, just a pass wide open to Braylon Jakes, and Carver was able to jump up 7-0. What was really the backbreaker play in that first half, Carver was up 17-0, and they get another touchdown with 18 seconds left to go. Now they're up 24-0, and we pretty much knew that Carver was going to hold on to this lead just for the simple fact they haven't given up 24 points all season. Kelston Tarver had a big run. You had Jacoby Caslin with a big run. Matthew Mungden looked great, but the Alex Quinney All-State Good Hands players of the game was that entire defense for Carver, led by Tristan Givens, A.J. Wilson, Antavius Watts, Zay Billingsley. You had Colin Hodge. You just had Jatavia's Wisdom. I mean, I could go on and on. Carver has a great defense. And this was the de facto region championship, because with 2 games left on the schedule, Sumter County has to play Hardaway and Columbus. Carver will play Jordan and Kendrick. So pretty much Carver is going to win the region, even though with 2 games left to go. And congratulations, getting a big win. And it seemed like we had a lot of views on Georgia Alabama Sports Live. There was a lot of eyeballs on this game because Sumter County was coming into this game undefeated. But Sumter County is undefeated no more. And it was hard for the Sumter County Panthers, which, they're having a fantastic season. I think Sumter County is going to have everything in front of them. They're probably going to finish 2nd in the region. They're going to make the playoffs. They're going to host a playoff game, maybe 2 playoff games. But it was tough for Ishmael Jones to get anything going. He was that quarterback. A.J. Curse, you had Cordarian Leverett. Their offensive skill players could not get anything going because Carver just suffocated them on defense. As I was up in the press box, I was doing color commentating alongside Thrift Behringer, who was doing play-by-play, and I had binoculars up in the press box because I wanted to get a closer look on that line play of Carver. You always want to know where number 11 is lined up on that line. That's Tristan Givens. He is ranked 11th in the state for the class of 2026 as far as top 4-star defensive end, and he is just a very physical athlete. He's a phenomenal player. He also plays wide receiver. He did get hobbled a little bit in the late of the game, but Coach Coffey made the decision just to let him sit the rest of the game. Let's get healthy. Just get ready to wrap up this regular season and make a deep run in the state playoffs like Carver always does. And I'm here to say, after watching Carver beat Sumter County 31-0, Carver has got to be the favorite to win the state title. Look, I know that Pierce County is ranked number 1. Morgan County is ranked number 2. Both teams are undefeated. Pierce County has every right to be ranked number 1 because they are the defending 2A champions. But you got to remember, Carver was in 3A last year. They went to the semifinals. The year before, they went to the quarterfinals. And the year before that, they lost in the championship in 4A. So the past couple of years, Carver's been playing in higher classifications, and they've been able to make deep runs in the state playoffs. So congratulations to Coach Pierre Coffey, Coach Justin Newman, and that defense. It was just a great game, and I was glad that I got to be on the call for Georgia Alabama Sports Live. I also want to thank Thrip Behringer and DJ Jones for giving me that opportunity to be on Sports Visions. As I was on Sports Visions, you can catch them Mondays and Thursdays from 4 to 6 on Smooth R&B 92.1 there in Columbus. As I was the eyes and ears down at Otis Spencer Stadium, the sideline reporter just talking about that upcoming game. And I was just privileged to be a part of the broadcast. And what a phenomenal broadcast by Chris Gates and Toygar Isla. We had a second camera. Chris Gates was down on the field. The production was fantastic. And I also want to thank Jeff Battles just for giving us that opportunity to live stream there at Otis Spencer Stadium. I always have fun being at Otis Spencer Stadium. I will be back tonight. I will talk about that game in just a minute, but let's go ahead and talk about the other game that was on the Thursday night slate. That was up at Kinnett Stadium as the Hardaway Hawks end up defeating the Jordan Red Jackets 55-12. Hardaway right now is 4-4 on the season. They play Sumter County next week. If you look at the ratings, Hardaway is ranked 30th out of the 52 public schools in 2A. And I think that the magic number to try to get into the playoffs is going to be 32. Remember, the number 1 and number 2 teams are going to get automatic bids. That's 16 teams right there. Then the remaining 16 teams left in the playoffs will be at an at-large pool. And so it's not going to be determined based on where you finished in the region. It's going to be determined based on your strength of schedule and where you are in the ratings. And right now, you got Shaw at number 22, Spencer at 23. I'll be at the game tonight. The winner of that game is definitely going to be in the driver's seat to make the playoffs. And Hardaway is ranked 30th. So this is a very big game for them. By the way, Kendrick is ranked 42nd and Jordan is ranked 51st. So in case you were wondering about the ratings, and there are 6 media outlets that actually have their ratings. Those are included is the AJC, you got ITG Next, you got Score Atlanta, you got 680 The Fan, you got Maxwell, and you got Max Preps. In case you were wondering about those media outlets. And by the way, I'm not trying to call out any media outlet because ITG Next does exactly what we do on Georgia Alabama Sports Live. They live stream high school football games. They have high school football shows. I respect what they do, but they were the ones that ranked Sumter County ahead of Carver. In their poll, they had Sumter County at number 3. Carver was ranked number 5. And I get it. You get excited about these small towns and your team's undefeated, and Sumter County's having a fantastic year. I do want to give a shout out to Coach Will Rogers because he has turned around the Sumter County Panthers. They go from 1 win 3 years ago to 5 wins last year, and they have 7 wins already, and they're going to make the playoffs, and they're going to have just a fantastic run making the playoffs. It's just that they were running into a juggernaut in the Carver Tigers. Not trying to call out any other media outlet because I have much respect for them, but I just don't know where they were basing that off of, why they ranked Sumter County so high. No worries. Hey, I love watching The Extra Point with Phil Jones. Great show. ITG Next. You guys do great work. All right, let's move to the Friday games, and we are going to start where I'm going to be along with Mike Peacock. I'm actually going to be producing this game. It's Shaw and it's Spencer. The winner of this game, I believe, is going to make the playoffs. You got Shaw coming in, both teams having a bye. Shaw ended up last time they lost to Carver. Spencer able to get a win, after they've only played 6 games. They did not play against Dooley County. Their first game of the season was really the Heritage Bowl. Spencer is starting to hit their stride. Elijah Fudge, one of the top passers in the area, but you also have the dual threat quarterback for Shaw, Aaron Grant. I'm excited that I get to produce this and maybe come in with some color commentating. I know Mike Peacock's going to do a fantastic job tonight. 7 o'clock, Otis Spencer Stadium. It is Shaw and Spencer. All right, let's look at the lineup of other games around the Chattahoochee Valley that we are going to have on Georgia Alabama Sports Live. Rick Beach from Kutsu Sports on the call up at Central Carrollton for Harris County and Central. And Lee Scott Glenwood. This is a rivalry of all rivalries. Thrift Behringer is going to be on the call for this game. And I got to tell you, I know that I covered all the high school games on yesterday's show, but I just want to touch up on them. Rex Castillo is going to be at Calvary Christian. They are hosting Strong Rock. It is homecoming, and it is also senior night. Now let's run through the rest of the games on the high school slate. We got Schley County on the road taking on Central Talbotton. We've got Callaway on the road up in Zebulon taking on Pike County, and this is a makeup game from Hurricane Helene up at Kinnett Stadium. This is Columbus's homecoming. They are hosting the Kendrick Cherokees. And by the way, Columbus is ranked 45th. Kendrick is ranked 42nd. So I'm not saying the winner of this game is going to make the playoffs, but they could possibly win out and maybe sneak in a playoff game. But, Kendrick has to play Shaw and Carver next as well. So that's going to be a tall order. All right, so let's go ahead and look at Northside. Huge matchup up in Fayetteville as they take on the undefeated Stars Mill. Looking forward to that. All right, who else we got? How about this matchup? The Battle of LaGrange. It's LaGrange and Troup County. It doesn't get any bigger than this up at Callaway Stadium. And I want to shout out LaGrange and Troup County and what Kevin Eckleberry does at BTV Sports. I used to work up in LaGrange for 6 years. I know how big LaGrange and Troup County can be. And it's an amazing rivalry. And I love it. All right, Smith Station. They are hosting Dothan at TC Britton Field, Panther Stadium. And hopefully Smith Station can maybe get a win over a Dothan Wolves team that has struggled this year. It's looking like they're not going to make the playoffs. The game of the week for WTVM and WRBL is Central at Opelika. I'm telling you, I think the winner of this game is going to host a playoff game, could possibly rival Auburn for winning the region championship. Even though both schools lost to Auburn, they're going to have to hope that Auburn loses to Carver Montgomery and they get some help. And that's who Auburn plays next. They do play Carver Montgomery at the Cramden Bowl. And how about this matchup? Russell County, fresh off a bye, taking on Pike Road. And this is going to be a very good road game for Pike Road in Russell County. I'm looking forward to that as well. Brookstone hosting Westfield School at Max Strong Stadium. That's another big game that you can catch on Cougar Live on their Facebook or on their YouTube channel. They don't have a Facebook page that you can live stream on their Facebook page. You can live stream on their YouTube channel. Scott Miller will be on the call, and we'll also feature this game on the GIAA scoreboard show that Thrift Behringer and I do every Friday at 11. I know that was a lot to get into, but let's go ahead and talk about some of the national sports that happened yesterday. We're going to start with the baseball playoffs. Well, the Dodgers are looking like they're going to close out this series against the Mets. 10-2 over the New York Mets at Citi Field. And I thought the Mets going back home, tied 1-1. I thought that the Mets would maybe get this 2-2 going back to LA. I think the Dodgers are going to close this out and win this series as they take a commanding 3-1 series lead. I expected a lot more out of the Mets. I think the Mets right now are just playing with house money. They were just happy to get into the playoffs. This is what the Dodgers expected to do. They are the odds-on favorite to win the World Series, but the Dodgers' playoff disappointments after they won the World Series in 2020 has really hit the fan base, and they're like, when is it going to be our time? Because we are the best team in baseball. We have the best players in baseball. And they also have a very good farm system with all these up-and-coming players like Teoscar Hernandez and Will Smith. I mean, they know how to win. I think Dave Roberts does a phenomenal job as a manager. And you got to remember, I'm saying all this as a Giants fan. Yeah, this kills me that the Dodgers, even though Clayton Kershaw's injured, Walker Buehler's injured, all their core pieces are just not there as far as their pitching staff. But they still have Yamamoto. They still have Flaherty. They have some good pitchers, but it's the hitting of Shohei Ohtani. Is he not the best free agent acquisition in baseball right now? Shohei Ohtani has been made for the postseason. The whole world wants to see the Dodgers in the World Series. They want to see Shohei Ohtani showcased. And I think they're going to close out this series and they're going to go to the World Series. The Yankees, they do not get the sweep over the Cleveland Guardians as Cleveland ends up winning 7-5 over the Yankees. The Yankees still lead this series 2-1. WNBA playoffs, you got the New York Liberty. They are up 2-1 over the Minnesota Lynx. They'll play game 4 later today. All right, one more thing I forgot to mention. I want to throw it back to the local stuff in Columbus. Calvary Christian, they did lose to First Presbyterian Day in the first round of the GIAA state playoffs 10-7, but they did bounce back and beat Loganville Christian Academy in the elimination bracket. They are currently playing Strong Rock Christian right now, and I don't have a score update, but hopefully if they win, they will play at 2, and then they'll have an opportunity to play at 4. But it's going to be a long road if they want to try to get to the championship. By the way, championships are tomorrow at the South Commons Softball Complex for all classifications of the GIAA, starting at 10 o'clock with the single A champions. Now, for some reason, if somebody in the elimination bracket wins, they will play an if necessary game on another field. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I know Thrip Behrens is going to be on the call. I'm going to try to help out in the morning, but I do have a work obligation. So we'll see how it goes. All right, let's go ahead and talk about that Thursday night game as the Denver Broncos all over the New Orleans Saints, 33-10. Javonte Williams with 2 rushing touchdowns. Bo Nix, another win as a rookie quarterback. Sean Payton returns to New Orleans. And this New Orleans team is a shell of itself that started 2-0. I was coming on this show saying that Clint Kubiak is going to be the next big head coaching candidate because that New Orleans offense looked explosive, but they don't have Derek Carr. They don't have Taysom Hill. They don't have Rashid Shaheed. They don't have Chris Olave. I mean, Alvin Kamara can only do so much, and the New Orleans Saints are a different team without all their offensive pieces, and you got to put this on their coach, Dennis Allen, who right now his seat is getting warmer as a possible coach that could be shown the door. I mean, you got your old coach who led you to a Super Bowl in 2009. That coach combo of Sean Payton and Drew Brees has won a lot of games for this franchise. And Sean Payton comes back to New Orleans and ends up punching you in the mouth 33-10. What does that tell you about your franchise? Well, first of all, it tells you that Sean Payton was a great coach, and your franchise needs to get more depth because all your players that are injured, your backups, haven't really been doing anything. You got to change the culture in New Orleans, and I just don't know if Dennis Allen is the guy that could do it. I know one coach that could, definitely Coach Bill Belichick. He's probably waiting for that call, but we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. But the New Orleans Saints, the good news is they're not in last place. They're only a half game above the Carolina Panthers. All right, we had some college football games last night. Georgia State, They ended up losing to Marshall 35-20. And we had Virginia Tech ended up defeating Boston College 42-21. We do have some college football games tonight. We got Florida State at Duke. Number 2, Oregon on the road taking on the Purdue Boilermakers. I don't think Oregon's on upset alert. They are a 30-point favorite, and they are the number 2 team in college football. I think that they're going to roll over Purdue. Oklahoma State at BYU. BYU is a slight 8.5-point favorite. Not really slight. That's more than a touchdown. Can Oklahoma State get the upset win? Oklahoma State, a disappointing 3-3 season. They were one of my favorites in the preseason to win the Big 12. Well, not anymore. They've already got 3 losses. And then the nightcap, if you stay up late like we do, because we have our GIAA scoreboard show, Fresno State taking on Nevada. All right. My top 5 college football teams who are on upset alert. All right, I'm going to start with number 6. You got Nebraska, who's unranked, but they should be ranked. They are on the road in Bloomington taking on the Indiana Hoosiers, who are having a fantastic year. I do think that, if there's a team that could pull off the upset, and if you really want to say this game is an upset, I highly doubt that it's considered an upset. Indiana is ranked 16th. Nebraska is unranked, but Indiana is a 6.5-point favorite. I think that this is the most likely scenario that we could see an upset in college football, with Nebraska getting the win, because Nebraska has the quarterback, Dylan Raiola, very special quarterback. And really, I think Nebraska feels like they could have beat Illinois. I honestly do. I think that Nebraska could compete for the Big Ten championship. And at one point in my college football playoff projections, which I'm going to have to change it on Monday because there's a lot of moving parts, I had Nebraska winning the Big Ten and going to the college football playoff. All right. My number 4 team that is on upset alert, SMU. I mean, come on. You knew that the schedule was going to be tough, but when you have to travel on the West Coast to Palo Alto, California, to Stanford Stadium to take on the Stanford Cardinal, you're a 16.5-point favorite. This game's been playing at 8 o'clock, which means 5 o'clock on the West Coast. Stanford is one of those teams that can sneak up on you. They beat Notre Dame a couple of years ago. Stanford in the ACC, I mean, they're not very talented, but they also are a very smart team. And sometimes you'll see the flashbacks when they were a dominant powerhouse for a decade under Jim Harbaugh and David Shaw. They were one of the premier college football teams. If you look at the last from 2009 all the way up to 2020, Stanford's got to be in the top 10 for wins. I don't have the stats in front of me, but you look at, their BCS appearances, their Rose Bowl wins, winning the Rose Bowl in 2015. I don't think Stanford is at that level anymore, but Stanford can sneak up on you, and that's why I got them possibly winning. And SMU, you're on upset alert. All right, number 3. And LSU fans, especially my broadcasting colleague Bryce Kuhn, who covers LSU on 24/7 Sports in Baton Rouge, you say, no, there's no way LSU can lose to Arkansas. It's in Fayetteville. I want to tell you that. It is the SEC. LSU is a 2.5-point favorite. So, yes, there is a possibility LSU could be on upset alert, but you also got to remember, LSU is undefeated in the SEC. They have one loss to a non-conference USC. If LSU loses this game, they still got to play Alabama. They still got to play Texas A&M. Would this derail their chances at a college football playoff berth? So LSU is going to be razor focused because it's Brian Kelly. Sam Pittman is still on the hot seat at Arkansas, by the way. Can Arkansas pull off another victory at home to a top 10 team? That would be impressive. And maybe Sam Pittman keeps his job. But LSU, I got you on upset alert. All right. Notre Dame, Georgia Tech. By the way, we got some media members from Columbus They're going to be making that trip up to Mercedes-Benz Stadium because all the teams we cover in Columbus are on the road. Georgia's on the road against Texas. Alabama's on the road against Tennessee, and Auburn's on the road against Missouri. So we've got Georgia Tech hosting Notre Dame at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Georgia Tech is 5-2 on the season, but they are not ranked. Well, I guarantee you, if they pull off the upset against number 12 Notre Dame, which, by the way, Notre Dame is a 9.5-point favorite. You look at the resume, Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois. You could just throw that out. Riley Leonard going up against Haynes King. This is going to be an exciting game. 3:30 kickoff on ESPN, and I'm telling you, I'm excited about this game. I'm putting Notre Dame on upset alert. I think Georgia Tech pulls off the upset. I'm actually confident that Georgia Tech can pull off the upset here. And so my number 2 team that is on upset alert, that's the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. And finally, the number 1 team that is on upset alert, I kind of feel like this team could have a letdown game. The Miami Hurricanes. They are playing against Louisville on the road. Miami is only a 5-point favorite, and it's also a noon kickoff. These noon kickoff games can be crazy at times. It's going to be at Papa John's Stadium. I think they call it that still. Miami and Louisville. Louisville, they should be ranked. They dropped out of the top 25 after having 2 losses. Remember, they played Florida State in the ACC championship and ended up losing that game. If Miami is really good, if the U is back, they roll against Louisville. But if they have a letdown game, Louisville can pull off the upset because they are playing at home. So the Miami Hurricanes, the U, I got you on upset alert. Sorry, Ryan. All right. That was the top 5 teams on upset alert. Now, let's talk about some of the local teams that are playing this week. Let's start with the Auburn Tigers. They're 2-4. They desperately need to start getting wins, and I don't care who the quarterback is. Peyton Thorne, Hank Brown, just figure it out because Hugh Freeze, he was brought along because he is known as a coach that develops quarterbacks, and he is also a coach that could turn around a program. Look at what he did at Ole Miss. You know, he went undefeated at Liberty. When they brought him on, the Auburn fan base thought that in year 2, Auburn would see significant improvements. Can we throw out the Brian Harsin years? Because that was a disaster. It had disaster written all over it. Is Hugh Freeze the right coach? Because if they lose to Missouri, which they should, I mean, Missouri is only a 4-point favorite, but Missouri is a very good team. Connor Cook, Luther Burden, good wide receiver. Brady Cook, rather. Connor Cook played at Michigan State. Auburn should win this game if there's a game that they can win because they do have some talent on the defensive side of the ball. They don't make mistakes. I have them having a good chance beating Missouri. I didn't put in my top 5 on teams on upset alert because I think Missouri ends up winning this game, but I wouldn't be shocked if Auburn pulls off the upset. All right, you got Clemson hosting Virginia. These are some of the noon kickoff games. Army hosting East Carolina. Army is ranked 23rd. How about that? And we got Wisconsin at Northwestern, UCLA at Rutgers, Wake Forest at UConn, Arizona State at Cincinnati, South Carolina at Oklahoma. That is a 12:45 kickoff on the SEC network in Norman, Oklahoma. South Carolina feels like they could have upset Alabama last week. Oklahoma got punched in the mouth by Texas in the Red River Shootout, 34-3. So I think Oklahoma bounces back and they get the victory here. How about this? 3:30 on ABC, Alabama at Tennessee. You know, last time Alabama went to Knoxville, Tennessee pulls off the upset, and the goalposts are floating in the Cumberland River. Actually, they're down at the bottom of the Tennessee River. Cumberland River was Vanderbilt. But Alabama, which is a 3-point favorite, Alabama hasn't been playing like Alabama. But Tennessee barely beat Florida. Tennessee has struggled too. So something's got to give. I think that Alabama ends up winning because I don't see Alabama end up losing 2 games this early in the season. So calm down. Don't panic, Alabama fans. Kalen DeBoer is not as bad as you think he is. It's just that you expect the next second coming to Nick Saban, and that's not going to happen, especially this day and age in college football. We got Michigan taking on Illinois. Michigan is favored. They should win that game. Charlotte taking on Navy. How about Navy ranked 25th? You got the service academies in the top 25. Don't tell me it's about getting players from the transfer portal and NIL. That's the only way you can win in college football. Well, the service academies are proving that that's not the only way you can win in college football. Just the fact that the service academies who don't use the transfer portal and they don't have NIL and they are winning, that is impressive. And as a member of the military, I cannot be more proud of Army and Navy, and I cannot wait until that Army-Navy game. We might get that Army-Navy game the week before in the American Conference Championship. All right, we got Cal taking on NC State, Houston at Kansas. All right, some of the other games, UAB at South Florida. Let's see, Colorado at Arizona. This is a 4 p.m. game on Fox. Jed Fish is no longer there at Arizona. I mean, he's now at Washington. Colorado feels like they could have won that game against Kansas State. I still think Colorado's a bowl team. They're going to make it to a bowl game. I just don't know if they're going to win the Big 12. This is going to be a game where Arizona's slightly favored. Arizona should win this game. Let's see. We got James Madison at Georgia Southern. I remember at one time, James Madison was one of those teams that I thought could get into the group of 5 in the college football playoff. Texas A&M at Mississippi State. You got Vanderbilt. I guarantee you, Vanderbilt's going to get another win here. I know they lost to Georgia State. They did beat Kentucky. They are 4-2. Vanderbilt, after beating Ball State, should be ranked. I don't understand why Vanderbilt wasn't ranked. And then you got Iowa State taking on UCF, Kansas State taking on West Virginia, Michigan State taking on Iowa, Florida hosting Kentucky. Florida actually looked pretty good against Tennessee. I think Florida wins here. UNLV taking on Oregon State. And then finally, I want to break down the Georgia-Texas game because I've had all week to think about this game. Texas is favored by 4.5. Georgia and Texas are pretty much identical. They have 4- and 5-star players everywhere around the field. It's about really the coaching matchups. You got Coach Sark, who is trying to build Texas to being back to where they were. And then you got Kirby Smart, who's been proven. He's won 2 national championships. Georgia was 1 play away from playing for a 3rd national championship last season. And Georgia, who got really embarrassed in that first half by Alabama. And then they showed some resiliency coming back and taking the lead in the 4th quarter over Alabama. And even though, they put up 41 points and they had over 500 yards of offense, and Mike Bobo, the offensive coordinator, still gets criticized. This is going to be a very balanced, even game. Quinn Ewers, Carson Beck, which quarterback makes the big plays? I like the wide receivers for Texas. I love Isaiah Bond. I love just Quinn Ewers as a quarterback. I think the line play is going to be key. Can Georgia get to the quarterback and make Quinn Ewers uncomfortable? Georgia needs to run the football. You got Trevor Etienne. You've got just this offensive line that's banged up. Tad Rutledge is not going to play. I do think that Georgia, I'm actually going to call the upset. I think that Georgia wins on a last-second field goal. And I don't think this game defies the season for either team. Georgia can still make the college football playoff with 2 losses. I just think that the margin of error is going to be a lot slimmer because if they do lose to Texas, they have got to beat Ole Miss in Oxford. They got to beat Tennessee at Athens, and they got to beat Georgia Tech. I mean, so Georgia still has a tough schedule. And I think that if Texas loses to Georgia, I still think Texas doesn't fall very far because it is the SEC. And Texas is going to play some tough opponents. You saw what they did against Mississippi State. They struggled in that first half. All right. We are just rolling along here on the Sports Beat. Like I always do on Fridays, I want to try to at least go the hour because I want to make sure to give the content to WQEE. And don't forget, next week, we've got the NBA regular season. Before I get into my NFL picks, I do want to talk about the NBA regular season because next Tuesday we got the New York Knicks, the new New York Knicks with Karl Anthony Towns, Jalen Brunson. They've got Mikal Bridges. The Knicks look fantastic. They're taking on the world champion Boston Celtics. Celtics are going to display that banner once again. They're going to have the ring ceremony. And the Boston Celtics are bringing everybody back. I mean, even though Al Horford is up there in age, I think that this is going to be a good showcase for the Boston Celtics. And then, do we have history? If it's possible, because on TNT, and by the way, this is the last year for TNT. It's going to be great to see inside the NBA, but it's going away after next year. Hate to see that. But yeah, this is the final year for TNT. The Minnesota Timberwolves. And now this is Anthony Edwards' team. He is going to the Crypto Arena to take on the Los Angeles Lakers. Could we see a regular season game where LeBron and Bronny James take the court at the same time? The big question is, because Bronny James is struggling in preseason, doesn't even make the 12-man roster because only 12 players can suit up. Doesn't even make the 15-man roster. I mean, if there's a rookie that's been impressive for the Lakers, it's Dalton Knecht. He has been outstanding. The Lakers still getting up there in age. And, how much longer can LeBron do this, play at a high level? And it's also the coaching debut of J.J. Redick, which has been the most famous coach in the offseason. And I can't believe that the Lakers got a coach with no coaching experience. He just has a special relationship with LeBron because they do a podcast. So I don't know. I'm really excited about the NBA. The NBA is coming up. The Atlanta Hawks, by the way, play the New Jersey Nets. The Brooklyn Nets. They play the Brooklyn Nets on Wednesday. So looking forward to that. All right. I'm going to close out the show with my NFL picks. The Atlanta Falcons are hosting the Seattle Seahawks. 1 o'clock kickoff at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. The Falcons are 4-2. They are currently in first place in the NFC South. They are hosting the Seattle Seahawks, who started 3-0. They have lost 3 straight. And the key is that Kirk Cousins cannot get behind the 8 ball. The Seahawks are not the same team on the road. At Quest Field, they are amazing, but the 49ers exposed them. I wasn't a believer in Geno Smith as a top 5 quarterback. Seattle still has some really good, talented pieces. The matchup I really like to see, A.J. Terrell going up against DK Metcalf. The Falcons' defense is widely underrated, and I think that they did beat the Panthers. Panthers are not very good. The Falcons just need to continue winning. You cannot lose to teams you're supposed to beat, especially at home. And Falcons fans, you got to get to the bins early because I'm tired of seeing these broadcasts where you have empty seats. Hopefully, Kirk Cousins is bringing fans into their seats and they are supporting, this team. But this is going to be the first 1 o'clock kickoff that they've had at home. Remember, they've played primetime games at home. They have played the Saints. They've played the Buccaneers. They've played the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football. So I want to see what this 1 o'clock kickoff looks like for the Atlanta Falcons when they're just playing just a regular team. I mean, the Seahawks are not a regular team. I know some people that will probably be going to this game that actually live in the area that are lifelong Seahawks fans. All right. The London game, 9:30 in the morning, Patriots and Jaguars. I mean, both teams are awful. 1-5. I mean, this is what you're getting. And unfortunately, the Jags are favored by 6. But the only difference between this matchup, you got a lame duck coach in Doug Peterson, but you got Gerard Mayo, who's an up-and-coming coach who took over for a legend. And you're going to see just the development of Drake May to see if he is one of these quarterbacks that could play in this league. You got the Titans and the Bills. I think that Buffalo ends up rolling Tennessee. I liked what the Bills did, getting that win over the Jets on Monday night. This could be the game of the week. We got the Texans and the Packers. Packers playing at Lambeau. Jordan Love starting to get some confidence. I love the quarterback matchup between C.J. Stroud and Jordan Love. The Eagles and the Giants. I'm telling you, if the Giants beat the Eagles, I think the Nick Sirianni is going to be fired. The Eagles were not impressive against the Cleveland Browns. They are a 3-point favorite. I do think that the Eagles win, but I would not be shocked if the Giants win, and Malik Neighbors' health could be in question. Lions and Vikings. Vikings playing at home and fresh off a bye. The Lions fresh off that shellacking of the Dallas Cowboys on prime time. And I do think that the Vikings having that week to prepare. They are a very well-coached team, and I love Sam Darnold as a possible MVP candidate. I'm not kidding. Sam Darnold could get MVP if the Vikings just roll through the regular season. Bengals and Browns. Bengals starting to get some confidence after beating the Giants. The Browns don't look very good. This game is in Cleveland. I could see a scenario where the Browns win, but the Bengals are still a pretty good team, a desperate 2-4 team that could possibly get this win on the road. Dolphins and Colts. Dolphins still got to figure out their quarterback situation. I like the emergence of Joe Flacco as the Colts quarterback. Panthers and Commanders. Jaden Daniels looking pretty good. Even in a loss to Baltimore, I see them beating the Carolina Panthers. But if there's one bright spot that Carolina has, Andy Dalton is a very competent quarterback, and Chuba Hubbard, pretty good running back. But, the Commanders are playing at home, and they are starting to look really good. All right, Raiders and Rams. Rams, the health of Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp could be in a question. Devontae Adams got traded to the Jets. Remember when we thought, all is well in Las Vegas. We thought that Devontae Adams was going to be there for the long haul. Well, the Raiders need a quarterback. Aiden O'Connell is now the quarterback. If there's one bright spot for the Raiders, I love Brock Bowers as a rookie. By the way, one game that I do want to talk about is the rematch of the Super Bowl. You knew I was going to get to it. The Chiefs, still undefeated, taking on the San Francisco 49ers at Levi Stadium. The 49ers are banged up. Christian McCaffrey's not going to play in this game. I don't know if Jordan Mason's going to play in this game. I don't see the 49ers running the football. And if they do, they're going to overutilize Deebo Samuel. This is one of those games. Can Brock Purdy exercise the demons of the Super Bowl and be poised in the pocket and move the ball, keep Patrick Mahomes on the sidelines? This is a very tall task because the Chiefs have one of the most clutch defenses. You got Steve Spagnuolo, who should be a head coach already. I mean, he is just probably could be one of the greatest defensive coordinators of all time. I'm talking Buddy Ryan with the Bears, Bill Belichick with the Giants. He could be the best defensive coordinator of all time. And we've had some good ones. George Seifert, when he was under Bill Walsh, great defensive coordinator. Steve Spagnuolo, I'm here to tell you, he is probably the best defensive coordinator in the history of the league. I mean, what he has done has been, I can't describe what he's done because it is incredible what he's done. And Chris Jones, Eric Bolton, you got Karlaftis, you've got Trent McDuffie, you've got just stars and Hall of Famers, by the way, too. Chris Jones is going to be in the Hall of Fame. And the Chiefs, he's got 3 Super Bowl rings. I think the Chiefs win. I don't see the scenario where the 49ers win this game. They haven't beaten the Chiefs since 2014. It's been that long. That's how long. Jim Harbaugh was the head coach the last time they beat the Chiefs. Alex Smith was the quarterback in Kansas City in 2014. I remember because I watched that game because it was a big deal because Alex Smith was coming back to San Francisco. That's the last time that the 49ers beat the Chiefs in a regular season game. And we know about the history, losing to the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl 2 years, both heartbreaking Super Bowls. 49ers had double-digit leads in those Super Bowls. And I'm here to say, I will be the happiest person in the world if they beat the Kansas City Chiefs. But if they don't, the 49ers season, they're about to go 3-4. They play the Dallas Cowboys next on Sunday Night Football. The season could derail for the 49ers because they got some tough games coming up on their schedule, including at Tampa Bay. So they have got to beat the Kansas City Chiefs here. Look, the Chiefs are 5-0, and the Chiefs look like they're doing it with smoke and mirrors. But Juju Smith-Schuster all of a sudden just stepping in for Rashee Rice has just been unheard of, that they just nitpick and take these players that used to be Kansas City Chiefs, like Kareem Hunt and Juju Smith-Schuster. And I would not be shocked if they ended up pulling Dwayne Bowe off the streets. Hey, why not bring Antonio Brown or Julio Jones to the Kansas City Chiefs? If you're going to play this game, go ahead and just bring those receivers, because it doesn't matter who's wide receiver, because you got Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback. And I admit it, I'm ranting just because maybe it's jealousy. The Chiefs have won 2 straight Super Bowls. They look like they're on pace to win a third and three-peat. They've already got 3 Super Bowls. But, as a 49ers fan, it's frustrating, especially when I personally felt the 49ers dominated that first half in the Super Bowl, but they could not put the foot on the gas pedal and close out the Chiefs, because that mistake that they made on special teams, the Chiefs were able to capitalize and get the touchdown. So I do think that the Chiefs win this game. I don't understand why the 49ers are a slight favorite. They're a 2-point favorite. It's because they're playing at home, and the Chiefs, something's got to give. They eventually have to lose. I don't know. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and finish up these NFL picks. The Sunday night game, the Jets and the Steelers. The Jets are going to look a little bit different with Davante Adams. I think that Aaron Rodgers is going to get a little bit more confidence. I'm calling the upset. Jets are a slight favorite. You know why? Because they added Davante Adams. I'm not really impressed with the Steelers at 4-2. Remember, I didn't have the Steelers in my rankings, and they were 4-2. I think the Jets win on Sunday night. And then we got a doubleheader Monday Night Football. We got the Ravens and the Buccaneers, both teams 4-2. I think Tampa wins this game. I think that Tampa Bay comes out and wins this game against the Baltimore Ravens. What a matchup. And then we have, for the first time in history, we have a Monday night game that's only going to be on ESPN+. We've got the Los Angeles Chargers taking on the Arizona Cardinals, and I think the Chargers end up winning that game. All right, we had a lot of fun. As you can see, I went 48 minutes without a break. Sometimes I could do that from time to time. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching another episode of the Sports Beat with Richard Holdridge. Don't forget, you could catch me on Mondays and Fridays on the Sports Beat with Richard Holdridge Facebook page and YouTube channel. On Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, you could catch me on the Georgia-Alabama Sports Live Facebook page and YouTube channel. And every now and then, I will sprinkle in some guests. It just depends on my schedule. I do live stream a lot of games for Georgia-Alabama Sports Live. I was hoping to have Dave Plata on this week. We're going to go ahead and push that interview to next week. I hope to have Phillip Jordan on. I had Gabe Reynolds on. It's been like months since I've had Gabe Reynolds on. But if you are a diehard sports fan and you want to just talk sports with me, just message me. And I would love for you to come on my show. I just got to find the time to do it, because my schedule is hectic. But thanks once again for watching, and have a great weekend. And we will talk to you next time. Bye, everybody.